Everybody for coming up to cover this story. I think today is a very exciting example of how education can be different because not one size fits all. I believe that there are students in this country who have real potential, but they have to navigate a very narrow corridor to maintain high performance while also retaining their own identity as individuals with other aspects to their life. The New Zealand Performance Academy will be designed to ensure that students who have real sporting potential can develop that potential to its fullest extent while also achieving high academic grades so that they've covered other aspects of their life. It also is an example of partnership within the community. This campus is an extremely innovative piece of equipment. This campus is an extremely innovative institution with some wonderful equipment, as you've seen. The question is how you ensure that within the community it's used in as many different ways as possible. You currently have students in the Phoenix Academy, about 18 of them. Those students are part of a high performance program for one team, and they're making use of this equipment while also attending school elsewhere. Our vision with the New Zealand Performance Academy is a school that will enable students from all different codes, initially football and rugby, to be able to develop their sporting potential while maintaining their academic options for life, along with 14 other charter schools that have been announced in the past year. It shows that education can be different because one size doesn't fit all, and it means that the range of options for parents and students will be as diverse as the aspirations and abilities of New Zealand students. Really happy to take any questions about this or other charter schools or other issues.
Why is the government funding the Sports Academy? Wouldn't this be better suited to the private sector to fund?
Well, the government is funding the education of these students through a charter school. The charter school is partnering with the Sports Academy to access some of their equipment as part of their offering. However, the funding available for these students' education is exactly the same as if the students stayed at a state school. They're just working on using their resources smarter to generate a more interesting and innovative option.
Can you talk us through the demand for charter schools?
Yeah, we've had 48 applications of people that want to operate charter schools. Sadly, we can't fund all of those. Only a small portion of all those that have applied so far, around about 1 in 10 have actually got over the line. But that shows there's a lot of demand, and the charter schools that we do approve are high quality.
Do you see this helping the Phoenix?
Look, I really hope it helps New Zealand teams win on the field, but our primary goal is to ensure that young New Zealanders who have real sporting talent can go to a place where their talent is cultivated and they cover their academic bases. That's got to be the win-win, because if you're a charter school, you sign a contract. If the students don't show up and the students don't achieve academically, we can take away your contract. Charter schools are the only schools in New Zealand that can actually be shut down if the students don't pass, and that is absolutely critical here. These schools are not a soft touch, they're not a school for jocks, they're a school for high performers. You can do your sporting stuff if you meet those academic targets. No other school in New Zealand has that deal.
And will it be a school for boys and girls?
Absolutely. We do not discriminate. There's students that have sporting potential, and as we've seen in recent times, we just saw the women's under-20 training here. This should be an environment where young people with sporting aspirations can be inspired by older sports people who've made it a few steps further in their journey, so that they can feel normalised, they can see what success looks like, they can see what bad behaviour needs to be avoided. I think a lot of young people could do with more mentoring, and that's one of the things I see happening with this concept.
What was the demand that you heard to have a sports-focused charter school?
It depends on the quality of the application that's put before the Charter School Authorisation Board. So these guys had somebody with a proven track record of operating successful charter schools. That's Karen. She was previously involved with the successful Villa Education Trust schools. They had a very compelling vision. Remember, the people on the Charter School Authorisation Board, very conservative educators. You've got people like Justine Mann, who used to be the chair of St Cuthbert's, which is a high-performing academic private girls' school. So she always goes hard on, is your academic proposition credible? And finally, some innovative partnering. You know, no one else can do this. By partnering with this campus, by having access to professional sports teams and having educators who can raise academic standards, you can create an environment for young students that didn't exist elsewhere.
Can you walk through the kind of academic criteria that the school will need to meet, as well as the sports elements to it?
Yeah, so they'll be teaching the curriculum, and the outcomes will be measured against students with similar levels of advantage or disadvantage in the state system, and they're expected to do as well or better as students who have a similar statistical profile in the state system.
How many students will this benefit?
Well, initially it could be up to 100. Obviously, it depends on how many apply, but their initial target is 100. I've just been speaking to the people here. They said, look, they've got room for 100 in the building that will be renovated before they start at the beginning of next year. But there's possibilities on this campus that it could be many more than that, but 100 is the beginning.
How do people actually get into the school?
Well, they have to apply, and they have to show that they are committed to the character and the mission of the school, which is obviously elite sports while covering your academic bases. And if you're a student who feels that you could fit into that environment, then you can apply. You're not going to be rejected if you don't have the kind of bench pressing prowess that people like me have. However, obviously if you're not on board for elite sport, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much. I mean, I believe, if this had been around in my time, I'd almost certainly be in the ABs by now.
What?
If you're not playing rugby or football, what do you do?
Well, the vision of the school is that it will expand to further codes over time. Obviously, it's something that if it's worth doing, you do it right. So if they have one person who's interested in, say, sailing, and they don't really have the capacity to teach that and really help them achieve excellence, they might not do that straight away. But initially, if you take football and rugby, that is a substantial portion of all the sports people in New Zealand today. You can think about other codes: basketball, very fast growing; netball, a Kiwi classic; cricket, another one. Then by the time you get to those, you've got a pretty substantial range of the options people take.
How much will it cost parents to send their kids here?
Parents won't be charged, so this is a state school funded by the taxpayer at the same rate as a state school would be funded if it was, Waikowhai Intermediate or any other school.
And do you stay on site?
I think some may, but it is also a day school as I understand it. Yeah.
Given the strike action this week, do you expect more people to swap to charter schools?
Look, I think there's a range of reasons why people choose charters. I note that people who work at charters are often driven by a mission to succeed and reaching those performance targets, so they're less interested in playing politics. But look, ultimately, the government's got to resolve the strike action, and the teachers need to come back to the table just as the primary school teachers have.
What's your message to the teachers' union about charter schools?
Well, frankly, why would you be opposed to more options? Why would you try and force one size to fit all? And I think the teachers' unions have to decide, are charter schools really so different they want to oppose them, or are they really just doing things that the state school system could already do? If they're doing things the state school system can already do, then it's not clear why they oppose them. If they are doing things the state school system can't do, then surely they should welcome the opportunity for the teaching profession to have more interesting jobs in different settings, and for students to be able to learn in different ways in different settings. These are positives.
How many state schools have become charter schools, and will more convert?
So at this point, there haven't been any that have opened as state schools. However, at least 2, we estimate 4 will open as state schools next year. There's been about 20 that are at some point in the pipeline, but there's a process of several years. So the ones that will open as charter schools next year actually started in 2024. There's a lot more that have started in 2025, and I suspect that give it another year, you could have a couple of dozen.
Are you expecting to announce any more before the end of 2025?
Yeah, I am. There's at least another couple that are still finalising their contracts, and when the ink is dry, we'll be out there. I don't know if they will have as exciting venues with cryogenic freezers or bench presses, but we'll see what we can do. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, team, and I hope that you have a really good day. See you later. Thank you. Also, if you want to talk.
Board sponsor, yeah.
Squeeze together again
Cool.
for us?
Yeah, we can cuddle if you like.
We're
We're pretty close.
Talk us through how you're feeling today.
Well, we're just genuinely really excited about the opportunity we've been given. We've been working on this. We've sort of identified there was a gap in our development as a club. We've got a world-class academy just down the road, but we're always struggling with the integration of education and high-performance sports. We looked around at best practice models around the world maybe 5 years ago, started working down this path, and here we are, ended up today with the charter school, and we're just really excited.
I think when people hear the word sports academy, they think, 5K run in the morning, press ups for morning tea. What's the day in the life of a student going to look like?
Well, I think the most important thing to note is it's going to be an excellent English-based education system. That's what we've committed to. That yes, it is going to have a sports application to it, but it's going to be the best possible education you can get in New Zealand. We're absolutely committed to that, and that it's going to be NCEA and it's going to be quality. Apart from that, yes, there'll be sports integrated into the program, but it's not going to be at the expense of an education.
Will there also be education around how to deal with the pressure of being a high-performing athlete?
Absolutely, and I think one of the positive pieces of feedback we've had is from parents, because they want their son or daughter to be able to have a holistic education experience which can combine their aspirations to be a top sports person, but also allow them to be academically achieving, and also, as you say, looking at those softer skills, the mental health pressure that comes often with trying to be both a sports achiever and an academic achiever. So that whole package here, I think, is going to be pretty unique, and certainly something, the feedback we've had from the parents all the way along is we need these sort of skills, we need this environment for our children.
Will it be a goal for students at the school to filter into, say the Phoenix Club or Hurricanes Club or, that sort of thing?
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean, that's one of the reasons we've wanted to be part of this process, is because we think there's a real opportunity here to have a real focus on sports development and education. So when you've got a program that a young person is undertaking that incorporates sports and high performance into their program, into their education, of course it's going to be beneficial for their sports development as well.
What if they decamp to Auckland FC?
Well, Auckland FC can have the ones that we reject, put it that way.
Whose brainchild was it? Was it yours, Brett? Was it yours, David?
Like I say, we sort of identified a gap maybe 5-6 years ago. This was before the Charter School Initiative came into being, and we were looking at ways at how we could do it, working with existing education suppliers. It never quite worked, so we continued to work one, and then fortuitously for us, the Charter School Initiative came along, and we're just thrilled that we could be part of it, and the timing was perfect. Like I say, our academy down the road, it's tuning out international players left, right and centre, it's tuning out professionals all around the world, and this now just takes that to the next level.
What are a lot of schools around New Zealand are doing sports. What is the extra sporting capacity that the school will be able to provide compared to, say an elite school, performing sports school in other parts of the country?
I think there'll be an opportunity in this local community, because today we have a lot of Phoenix Academy members who are not able to train and be educated in the same environment. So that's really important. But there'll also be families right across New Zealand who have sons and daughters who would love to be in this sort of environment where it can bring the best out of them, both academically and on the sporting field. And we think there's already a lot of interest that we're hearing from people about, can my sons and daughters come here? Can they board here? And we definitely have some accommodation options around that. So I think it's going to be a magnet for not just people from the local community, not just people interested in the Phoenix, but people interested in that sport and academic combination.
The Minister talked around 100 students at first. Is that are you planning to expand that, and how big is the boarding capacity looking to be?
I'll let David talk about the boarding capacity, but I think you know, you have to start somewhere, and 100 is a really good starting role. Allows us to hire teachers, which is not easy, but we've already got a lot of interest from teaching professionals in coming to the school, and so that's a good place to start. But over time, we think there's certainly huge opportunities to expand this this facility. There's Hutt International Boys School just up the road. There's no International Girls School, and we know that there's lots of interest from young women in the school.
We have an excellent boarding house on site already. There's 18 kids who are Phoenix affiliated and who are in the boarding house. We can double that. We're confident we can double that with NZCIS next year to go to 36, and then who knows.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, just for the tape as well, can you explain the school, like how it's being built, and understand there's some defence people there at the moment?
Yeah, there's a site on site at the moment currently being used by Defence. They are moving out. They've taken a whole wing of the building here at NZCIS, so they will move out in due course, and we'll take over that building.
Will you guys be competing for in the National Secondary Schools competition? And will you clean up every single year?
Probably. Yeah. So this is the reality is that we would hope that our students that are in our high performance program would be above the secondary school competition. Like most of our kids who we have in the academy now play at a national league level and international league level. So they don't actually play in secondary school competition. But if we were to put a team in a secondary school competition, I think they'd go pretty well.
And what age do they come here?
We're going to start at years 11, 12, 13. And then eventually we'll go down to years 9 and 10, but we've got to be realistic in what we can do from day one.
What impact do you think this will have on girls' participation in sport?
Well, the Phoenix is you know, we're 50-50 in everything we do. We put as much emphasis on our women's program as we do on a men's program. The school, as the Minister mentioned, is 100% co-ed, so we're certainly looking for you know, girls to be part of the program. And whether it doesn't, we're agnostic as to the code, we'll make it work. So we're pretty excited about what it can mean for women's sport in New Zealand.
Just on boarding really quick, because a lot of academy boys and girls currently come from out of town and go to the likes of St. Pat's and Scots and things like that, board and get educated there. Is that something you'd kind of drift away from them, those partnerships with those schools, and kind of encourage to come here instead?
I think it will happen just by, it would be so much more convenient for the student, given that the boarding house is on site, it reduces the travel. What we want to do is have the students participating in education and their sports training as opposed to travel. So I think, again, everything that we're going to do around the school is going to be quality, and it's going to be at the top level. So that includes the boarding. And if you've had a look at the boarding house, it is very, very good. So we're pretty confident that a student coming to Wellington, coming to the school, coming to one of our, either the Phoenix Academy or one of our affiliated academies, they'll want to be on site.
Will the school uniform be sneakers and tracksuits?
It will be, we will have a school uniform, but it'll probably be a little bit more relaxed than blazers and ties, correct. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks all.